The steakhouse smelled like mesquite smoke and leather. Carter Bennett adjusted his collar for the third time, fingers trembling slightly as he checked his phone. 7:58 p.m. 2 minutes until his blind date arrived. He'd never done this before. Let his sister set him up with someone from her art gallery. But after 3 years of failed relationships in Dallas, maybe it was time to trust Melissa's judgment. The dating app scene had left him exhausted. Empty conversations, surface-level connections. Men who wanted everything except emotional intimacy. Tonight was supposed to be different. Carter glanced around the rustic restaurant, taking in the exposed wooden beams and the soft country music playing overhead. This place screamed Texas charm, which made sense. His date, some guy named Preston, apparently loved authentic Western atmosphere. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Carter looked up and forgot how to breathe. The man standing beside his table was pure cowboy fantasy come to life. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sun-kissed skin and honey-brown hair that curled slightly at his collar. He wore a faded denim shirt rolled to his forearms, revealing tanned, muscular arms. His boots were scuffed, real working boots. Not the expensive kind city boys bought to play dress-up, but it was his eyes that stopped Carter cold. Warm hazel crinkled at the corners like he smiled often. Those eyes held something genuine, something real. "I know. Actually, I'm waiting for someone," Carter managed. The cowboy's smile faltered. "Oh," I thought. "Never mind." He glanced at his phone, confusion crossing his handsome features. The hostess said table 12. Carter's heart skipped. "This is table 12. They stared at each other. The cowboy rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture that somehow made Carter's stomach flip. Well, this is awkward. I'm supposed to be meeting someone here. Blind date. "So am I," Carter said slowly. Understanding dawned on the cowboy's face, followed immediately by something else. Panic. He took a step back, nearly knocking into a passing waiter. "I'm not the man you were supposed to meet," he said quickly. Carter blinked. "What? Your date?" "I'm not him." The cowboy's voice held an edge of distress. "There's been some kind of mix-up. I should go." "Wait," Carter stood, nearly knocking over his water glass. "What do you mean you're not my date? You just said you're here for a blind date at table 12. The cowboy's jaw tightened. His eyes darted to the exit like a spooked horse. "Look, I can explain, but not here. Sorry. This was a mistake." He turned to leave, and Carter, surprising himself, reached out and caught his wrist. The touch sent electricity through his fingers. The cowboy froze. "Please," Carter said softly. "At least tell me your name." Those hazel eyes met his, and Carter saw something vulnerable there. Something wounded. "Wyatt," the cowboy said. "Wyatt Keller. I'm Carter Bennett." He released Wyatt's wrist slowly. "And I don't understand what's happening, but you look like you could use a drink." "So do I. Will you at least sit down for 5 minutes?" Wyatt hesitated. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and Carter saw him glance at it, then deliberately ignore it. 5 minutes, Wyatt agreed. He slid into the booth across from Carter, but his body language screamed flight risk. Shoulders tense. Hands flat on the table like he might bolt any second, Carter signaled the waiter and ordered 2 whiskeys. "So," he said carefully, "want to explain how you're here for a blind date, but you're not my blind date?" Wyatt exhaled slowly. "This is going to sound insane. Try me. My brother set me up tonight. Said he knew someone perfect for me through a friend. Gave me this restaurant, this table, this time." Wyatt's fingers drummed nervously on the wood. "But when I saw you sitting here, I knew what? That you weren't set up to meet me." Wyatt's voice dropped. "You were set up to meet my brother." Carter's mind went blank. "I'm sorry, what?" "Preston Keller. That's who you're supposed to meet, right?" The name hit Carter like a physical blow. "Preston is... You're his brother? Unfortunately?" Wyatt's smile was bitter. "He does this sometimes. Sets up dates, then gets cold feet or gets busy with work. Tonight he texted me 30 minutes ago, begging me to come in his place. Said he'd make it up to the guy, but he couldn't make it. Carter sat back, processing. His perfect blind date was a no-show. And this beautiful, honest-faced cowboy sitting across from him was the replacement nobody asked for. The whiskeys arrived. Carter downed half of his in one swallow. So you came too? What? Let me down easy. I came because Preston's an idiot, Wyatt said bluntly. And whoever agreed to meet him deserved better than being stood up. He met Carter's eyes. I was going to explain, apologize, and leave. But then I saw you. Something in his tone made Carter's pulse quicken. What about me? Wyatt looked down at his drink. You're not what I expected. The vulnerability in those words created a crack in Carter's chest. This gay love story was supposed to start differently. Smooth, planned, not with confusion and substitute brothers and this aching tension building between them. But somehow, it felt more real than any dating app conversation ever had. Your brother sounds like a piece of work, Carter said. He is. Wyatt's fingers wrapped around his glass. But he's family. And he swore this was important, that he really liked you, that he just had something better to do. Carter finished. Wyatt flinched. Yeah, they sat in silence for a moment. The restaurant bustled around them, couples laughing, silverware clinking. Life happening while Carter's evening crumbled. Except it didn't feel like crumbling. It felt like something else entirely. Can I ask you something? Carter leaned forward. If you're just here to deliver bad news and leave, why do you look like you're trying to memorize my face? Wyatt's eyes snapped up. Color flooded his cheeks, and God, that blush was devastating. I should go, Wyatt said again, but he didn't move. Their eyes held across the table. And Carter felt it, that magnetic pull. That rare electric connection that made every nerve ending wake up and pay attention. This wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't the plan, but Carter Bennett smiled, slow and warm, and watched Wyatt Keller's breath catch. Carter said quietly, You could stay. Have dinner with me. Make up for your brother's terrible manners. I can't, why not? Wyatt's jaw worked. Because you came here to meet someone else. Someone who didn't show up. Carter's heart hammered. But you did. So maybe the universe is trying to tell us something. That's not how blind dates work. How would you know? Carter challenged gently. Have you ever been on one? Wyatt's silence was answer enough. Carter made a decision. A reckless, wonderful decision. Stay, please. Unless you have somewhere else to be. I don't, Wyatt admitted. Then stay. Wyatt stayed. He told himself it was just to be polite. To make sure Carter didn't spend the evening alone after being stood up. To do damage control for Preston's latest screw-up. But that was a lie. He stayed because Carter's smile did something dangerous to his heartbeat. The waiter returned. And they ordered dry-by for Wyatt? Salmon for Carter? Normal? Simple. Except nothing about this felt simple anymore, so Carter said, settling back into the booth with an ease that Wyatt envied. Tell me about yourself, Wyatt Keller, since you're my unexpected dinner companion. Wyatt's throat went dry. Not much to tell. I doubt that. Carter's dark eyes sparkled with curiosity. You're a cowboy. Real one? Judging by those boots? How can you tell? City cowboys buy expensive boots and keep them pristine. Yours are worn in, scuffed, loved. Carter tilted his head. You work with your hands. Wyatt glanced down at his calloused palms. I run a ranch. About 40 minutes outside Dallas. Cattle, some horses. It's been in my family 3 generations. That sounds incredible. It's work. Sunrise to sunset, 365. But Wyatt's voice softened. He loved that ranch with everything in him. What about you? What do you do? I'm a physical therapist. Carter's expression brightened. I help people recover from injuries, surgeries, accidents, get them back to their lives. That's really good work. It can be. Carter's fingers traced the rim of his water glass. I like helping people feel whole again. Like they're not broken. Something in those words landed heavy in Wyatt's chest. Their food arrived, and they fell into an easier rhythm. Conversation flowed naturally, stories about work, about Dallas traffic, about the best taco trucks in the city. Wyatt found himself laughing. Real laughter. The kind that came from his belly and made his cheeks hurt. When was the last time he'd laughed like this? "Okay, so your brother?" Carter said eventually, cutting into his salmon. "Is he always this reliable?" Wyatt grimaced. "Preston is complicated. He's a corporate lawyer. Big firm downtown. Works 8-hour weeks, barely sleeps. He's ambitious, smart, successful." He paused. "But yeah, he's flaky with personal stuff. So why'd he agree to the blind date in the first place? Same reason I'm still single at 32. Wyatt's smile turned sad. "Our mom, she worries. Thinks we're both going to die alone. Preston probably said yes, just to get her off his back, then panicked when he realized he'd actually have to show up." Carter's expression shifted. "Understanding, and you. Does your mom worry about you too?" "More." Wyatt's voice dropped. "Preston at least dates. Goes out. Has a social life. Me? I'm married to that ranch. Mom thinks I'm using work to avoid relationships. Are you?" The question was gentle, but it hit like a punch. Wyatt met Carter's eyes. Maybe. Honesty. Raw and uncomfortable. He hadn't planned to say that. Hadn't planned to feel this safe with a stranger. But Carter wasn't really a stranger anymore, was he? "I get that," Carter said softly. "After my last relationship ended, I threw myself into work. Took extra patience, covered weekends, anything to stay busy. It's easier than risking your heart again. What happened?" "If you don't mind me asking," Carter's jaw tightened. He cheated. For 6 months before I found out, said I was too focused on my career. Not exciting enough? Not enough. Anger flared in Wyatt's chest. "He's an idiot. That's what my sister says." Carter's smile was brittle. "She's the one who set up tonight. Said I needed to get back out there. Stop hiding. Is that what you're doing?" "Hiding, I was." Carter held his gaze. "But sitting here with you? I don't feel like I'm hiding. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Wyatt's breath caught. The air between them thickened, charged with something neither of them could name. This heartfelt romance wasn't supposed to exist. This emotional connection wasn't part of the plan, but it was happening anyway. Wyatt started, then stopped. "Yeah. I need to be honest with you." Wyatt set down his fork, pulse racing. "When I walked in here tonight and saw you, I knew immediately that you were meeting Preston. And I was going to tell you, apologize, and leave. But then what? Then you smiled at me, and I forgot every single thing I was supposed to say." Wyatt's voice roughened. "You're beautiful. Not just physically, though God, you are. But there's something about you that's just real, genuine, and I haven't felt that in a long time." Carter's eyes widened. His lips parted, but no words came out. Wyatt plowed ahead, needing to get it all out. "But I can't do this. I can't sit here having the best dinner I've had in years while pretending I'm not lying to you by omission. You're not. I am." Wyatt's hands fisted on the table. "You came here for Preston?" He set this up. "And instead, you got me. The ranch-obsessed hermit brother who doesn't know how to do any of this." He gestured helplessly between them. "You deserve the truth. You deserve better." Silence stretched between them. Then Carter laughed. Not a polite laugh. A real, surprised, delighted laugh that made heads turn at nearby tables. "What?" Wyatt asked, confused. "Wyatt Keller." Carter leaned forward, eyes dancing. "Do you honestly think I give a damn about Preston right now? A man I've never met who couldn't be bothered to show up. But I don't care about the blind date that was supposed to happen." Carter's voice softened, intense. "I care about the one that is happening. Right here. Right now? With you?" Wyatt's heart stopped. "You want honesty?" Carter continued. "Fine. Here's mine. I've been on dozens of dates in the past 3 years. Coffee dates, dinner dates, museum dates, hiking dates. And every single one felt like an audition. Like I was performing the role of Carter Bennett, eligible bachelor, instead of just being myself. He reached across the table. His fingers brushed Wyatt's knuckles, feather-light. But with you, I feel like I can breathe. Like I'm talking to someone who actually sees me. Carter's thumb traced small circles on Wyatt's hand. So no, I don't want you to leave. And I don't want you to feel guilty. I want you to stay and tell me more about your ranch. About your life. About what makes you laugh. Wyatt stared at their hands. This small touch felt monumental. You're sure? He whispered, I'm sure. The tension in Wyatt's shoulders released. Something warm and terrifying bloomed in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or possibility. He turned his hand over, lacing his fingers with Carter's. "'Kay," he said. "I'll stay." Carter's smile could have lit up the whole damn state of Texas. They lingered over coffee and dessert. Neither wanting the evening to end, Wyatt told Carter about the ranch, about sunrise rides through the pastures, about the old mare who'd been with him since he was 16, about the peace he found in physical work and open sky. Carter talked about his patience, about the teenager who'd walked again after a car accident, about the elderly woman who'd regained enough mobility to dance at her granddaughter's wedding. Their careers were different, but the core was the same: purpose, care, healing. You love what you do, Wyatt observed. I do, Carter smiled, but it can be lonely. Most of my friends from college have moved away. My sister's great, but she's busy with her gallery. And dating, he trailed off, has been a nightmare? Wyatt supplied. Exactly. Carter laughed. What about you? Friends on the ranch? I've got my foreman, Hector. He's been with us 20 years. Good man, but friend. Not really. Wyatt's expression turned wistful. I used to have more people in my life. But when you work dawn to dusk, relationships slip away. You become the guy who's always too busy, too tired. That sounds exhausting. It is. Wyatt met his eyes. But it's also safe. Can't get hurt if you don't let anyone in. Carter nodded slowly. I understand that more than you know. The waiter brought their check. Wyatt reached for it immediately, but Carter's hand shot out faster. Let me, Carter said. We're supposed to be on a date with Preston. The least I can do, Wyatt. What? Carter's voice was firm, but warm. This isn't Preston's date anymore. This is ours. And I want to pay, please.
Ours.
That one word sent Wyatt's heart into overdrive. He nodded.
Out.
Throat tight, they walked out together into the cool April evening. The parking lot was half empty, streetlights casting golden pools on the asphalt. Wyatt's truck was parked near the back. Carter's sedan was closer to the entrance. Neither of them moved toward their vehicles. So, Carter said, hands in his pockets. So Wyatt echoed, this was it. The moment where the evening ended and reality crept back in, where they exchanged polite goodbyes and went back to their separate lives. Except Wyatt didn't want that. Can I ask you something? Carter's voice was quiet. Anything? What happens now? Wyatt's breath misted in the air. I don't know. Do you want to see me again? God, yes. Every cell in Wyatt's body screamed yes. But doubt crept in, the same doubt that had kept him isolated for years. I lived 40 minutes away, he said carefully. I work long hours. I'm not good at this. At relationships. The last guy I was with said I was emotionally unavailable. Said loving me was like trying to hold on to smoke. Carter stepped closer. Do you believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Wyatt's voice cracked. But I know that tonight has been the best night I've had in years. And the thought of not seeing you again makes my chest hurt. Then don't make it the last night. Carter reached up, hesitant, and cupped Wyatt's cheek. The touch was gentle, reverent. Wyatt's eyes fluttered closed. I'm scared, he admitted. Me too. Carter's thumb brushed along Wyatt's jaw. But I think you're worth being scared for. Wyatt opened his eyes. Carter was so close, dark eyes searching his face. Can I kiss you? Carter whispered. Wyatt's answer was to close the distance. Between them, the kiss was soft, tentative, a question and an answer wrapped into one sweet moment. Carter's lips were warm. his hand gentle on Wyatt's face. Wyatt's hands found Carter's waist, pulling him closer, and the kiss deepened. It wasn't desperate or rushed. It was slow, exploratory, learning each other's rhythms. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "Wow," Carter breathed. "Yeah." Wyatt rested his forehead against Carter's. "Wow." They stood like that, wrapped in each other, neither wanting to break the spell. "Come to the ranch," Wyatt said suddenly. Carter pulled back to look at him. "What? This weekend?" "Come to the ranch. Let me show you my world." Wyatt's heart hammered. "I want you to see it, to understand what my life is like. And if you hate it, if it's too much work and too little city, then we'll know. But if you don't, if I don't, then maybe this can be something real." Carter's smile was brilliant. "I'd love to see your ranch, Wyatt." They exchanged numbers, hands lingering as phones were passed back and forth. "Saturday morning?" Wyatt suggested. "I'll text you the address. I'll be there." One more kiss softer. Sweeter, and then they reluctantly separated. Wyatt watched Carter drive away. Taillights disappearing into the Dallas night, his phone buzzed. "Preston, how'd it go? Did you apologize? Is he pissed?" Wyatt stared at the message, then typed back, "It went fine. Don't worry about it. He didn't mention the kiss. Didn't mention the way his heart felt too big for his chest. Didn't mention that for the first time in 3 years. Was letting himself hope. This LGBTQ plus love wasn't supposed to happen, but it had." And Wyatt was done running from it. Carter woke up at dawn on Saturday, nervous energy thrumming through his veins. He'd barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Wyatt's smile. Felt that kiss. Heard the vulnerability in Wyatt's voice when he'd admitted he was scared. They'd texted every day since Tuesday. Nothing heavy, just small conversations about their days. Wyatt sent pictures of the ranch, sunrise over the pastures, his horse Lightning nuzzling his shoulder. Carter sent pictures of his therapy sessions, faces blurred for privacy. His morning coffee, the terrible traffic on I-35. Simple, easy, but underneath it all, an undercurrent of anticipation. Now, driving down the winding country road toward Wyatt's ranch, Carter's hands gripped the steering wheel too tight. What if this didn't work? What if the magic of that first night couldn't survive daylight and reality? The GPS announced he'd arrived. Carter pulled through an open gate. A weathered sign reading Keller Ranch hanging above. The property stretched out before him, rolling green pastures, cattle grazing in the distance, a big red barn to the right, and straight ahead, a farmhouse that looked like something from a postcard. White siding, wraparound porch, flower boxes in the windows. Wyatt stood on that porch, one hand raised in greeting. Carter's heart settled. He parked and climbed out. Suddenly self-conscious in his jeans and boots, he'd tried to dress casually. But what did city boys wear to ranches? "Hey," Wyatt called, jogging down the steps. "Hey, yourself." Up close, Wyatt looked even better than Carter remembered. Faded Henley, worn jeans, that cowboy hat tipped back on his head. His smile was warm, genuine, and slightly nervous. "You found it okay?" "GPS didn't fail me," Carter gestured around. "Wyatt, this is beautiful." Pride flickered across Wyatt's face. "Thanks. Want the tour?" "Absolutely." They walked side by side toward the barn. The morning was cool, dew still clinging to the grass. Birds called from the trees, and somewhere in the distance, a rooster crowed. Peace settled over Carter like a blanket. Wyatt showed him the barn first horses in their stalls. Hay bales stacked high, equipment meticulously maintained. "Hey, this is Lightning," Wyatt said. Stopping at a stall where a gorgeous Palomino mare stuck her head out, Carter reached up cautiously. Lightning sniffed his hand, then allowed him to stroke her velvety nose. "She's beautiful, stubborn and spoiled, but yeah." Wyatt's voice was affectionate. "I've had her 12 years. She was a rescue abused by her previous owner. It took months to gain her trust." Carter watched Wyatt with the horse. The gentleness, the patience. the way lightning leaned into his touch like he was her whole world. "You're good with her," Carter observed. "She taught me a lot about trust." Wyatt scratched behind Lightning's ears. "That it takes time. That it's worth the wait." Their eyes met over the horse's head. The moment stretched, heavy with meaning. Then Wyatt cleared his throat. "Come on, I'll show you the rest." They walked the property past the chicken coop, through the vegetable garden, down to the creek that ran along the southern border. Wyatt talked icily about the ranch, about his routines, about his plans to expand the horseboarding operation. Carter listened, fascinated. This was a life so different from his own. No traffic jams or cramped apartments. Just space and sky and honest work. "You love it here," Carter said, "more than anything." Wyatt kicked at a stone. "But it can be isolating, especially in winter, when the weather's bad and I'm snowed in for days. Do you ever think about leaving?" "Sometimes, when the work gets overwhelming, or when I'm eating dinner alone for the 100th night in a row." Wyatt's expression turned vulnerable. "But then I'll walk out at sunrise and see the light hit the pastures just right. And I remember why I stay." They reached a small pond. Its surface mirror-smooth in the morning stillness. Wyatt sat on the grass. Carter joined him, their shoulders almost touching. "Can I ask you something?" Wyatt said quietly. "Of course." "What made you say yes to the blind date with Preston?" Carter considered. "Honestly, desperation. I was tired of being alone. Tired of swiping through apps and having surface-level conversations. My sister promised Preston was different, successful, charming, ready for something real. Sounds like she described my brother perfectly. At least on paper. But you're not like him, are you?" Wyatt shook his head. "Preston and I are night and day. He's the golden child law degree, downtown loft, fancy car. I'm the one who stayed home, took over the family business. Sometimes I think Mom wished I'd been more ambitious." "I don't think running a ranch makes you unambitious." Carter's voice was firm. "This takes dedication, skill, heart. You really think so?" "I know so." Carter shifted closer. "Wyatt, in my job, I see people every day who've lost touch with their purpose, who go through the motions but feel empty inside. You have purpose radiating from every pore." Wyatt's breath hitched. "You're really something, you know that?" "So are you." They sat in comfortable silence, watching dragonflies skim the pond's surface. Eventually, Wyatt stood and offered his hand. "Come on, I want to show you something." Carter let Wyatt pull him up. Their hands lingered together a moment too long. Wyatt led him back toward the barn, but veered off to a smaller building Carter hadn't noticed before. Inside was a workshop, tools on pegboards, half-finished projects on workbenches. "I build furniture," Wyatt explained, almost shy. "Tables, chairs, cabinets. It's just a hobby, but..." Carter walked to a beautiful rocking chair, running his hands over the smooth wood. "Wyatt, this is incredible. You think so?" "It's art." Carter turned to face him. "You made this?" Wyatt nodded. "My grandfather taught me. Said working with your hands keeps you grounded." He was right. Carter's heart swelled. Every moment with Wyatt revealed new layers. The rancher, the craftsman, the man who'd learned trust from a rescue horse. This was more than physical attraction. This was falling for someone's entire soul, and it terrified him. "You okay?" Wyatt asked, stepping closer. "Yeah, just overwhelmed. In a good way." Wyatt's hand found Carter's waist. "Me too." They kissed against lower than Tuesday night, deeper. Carter's back pressed against the workbench, and Wyatt's body was warm and solid against his. When they broke apart, both were flushed. "Come have lunch," Wyatt murmured. "I made chili. You cook too? Don't sound so surprised." Wyatt grinned. "Living alone teaches you to fend for yourself." The farmhouse kitchen was cozy butcher block counters, vintage appliances, morning light streaming through gingham curtains. Wyatt ladled chili into bowls, while Carter perched on a stool at the island. "This smells amazing," Carter said. "Family recipe. My mom makes it every Sunday." Wyatt set a bowl in front of Carter, along with cornbread. Fair warning, it's got a kick. They ate. And Carter moaned at the first bite. Oh my God. Wyatt's eyes darkened. Good? Incredible. Carter took another bite. You're full of surprises, Wyatt Keller. So are you, Carter Bennett. They grinned at each other like idiots. After lunch, they moved to the living room. The couch was worn but comfortable, quilt thrown over the back. Carter noticed the bookshelf, mostly westerns and ranch management guides, but also poetry. Mary Oliver, Rumi. You read poetry? He asked. Wyatt followed his gaze and flushed. Sometimes, when I can't sleep. Carter pulled a slim volume from the shelf. Can I? Sure. He flipped through, landing on a dog-eared page. The poem was about loneliness, about yearning for connection. This one? Carter asked softly. Wyatt's jaw tightened. Yeah, it's beautiful. And sad. I was in a bad place when I marked that page. Wyatt sat on the couch, rubbing his face. About a year ago, I'd just ended things with the guy I told you about. The one who said I was emotionally unavailable. Carter joined him, leaving space between them. You want to talk about it? Not really. But maybe I should. Wyatt exhaled slowly. His name was Marcus. We met at a bar in Dallas. He was fun, adventurous, everything I wasn't. For a while it was good, but then he started complaining that I never wanted to go out, that I was boring, that I chose the ranch over him. Were you? Probably. Wyatt's voice was heavy. I mean, I can't just abandon this place for weekend trips to Austin or spontaneous nights out. The animals need me. The work doesn't stop. And Marcus couldn't understand that, so he left. He gave me an ultimatum. Choose the ranch or choose him. Wyatt's hands fisted. I chose the ranch. And he said I'd die alone because I was incapable of putting another person first. Carter's chest ached. Wyatt, the worst part is, I believed him. Wyatt's voice cracked. I thought maybe I was broken. Maybe I'd been alone so long that I'd forgotten how to let someone in. You're not broken. How do you know? Carter shifted closer, taking Wyatt's hand. Because I see you. The way you are with lightning with this place. You're not incapable of love, Wyatt. You're capable of profound love. You just haven't found someone who understands that your ranch isn't competition. It's part of who you are. Wyatt stared at their joined hands. You really believe that? I do. Carter squeezed gently. The right person won't ask you to choose. They'll love all of you, including this life you've built. What if I'm not enough for that person? You are. Carter's voice was fierce. Trust me. You are. Wyatt looked up, eyes shining. You don't even really know me yet, then let me. Carter leaned closer. Let me know you, Wyatt. The good parts and the messy parts. The early mornings and the lonely nights. All of it. What if I mess this up? Then we'll figure it out together. Carter's thumb stroked across Wyatt's knuckles. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm just asking for honesty. For a chance. Wyatt searched his face. Then slowly he nodded. Okay, he whispered. Okay. They kissed again, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Wyatt rested his forehead against Carter's. Hey, for dinner? He asked. I'd love to. They spent the afternoon in easy companionship. Wyatt taught Carter how to brush lightning. Laughing when the horse tried to eat Carter's shirt, Carter told stories about his patience. It's about the resilience of the human body. About finding joy in small victories. They walked the fence line, checking for damage. And Carter asked questions about everything the cattle breeds, the water system, the seasonal rhythms of ranch life. You're really interested in this, Wyatt observed. I am, Carter smiled. It's fascinating, and I like seeing you talk about it. You come alive. Wyatt's cheeks colored. I've never had someone actually care before. Marcus used to tune out whenever I talked about work. His loss. As the sun began to set, they sat on the porch steps, beers in hand. The sky turned pink and orange, casting everything in golden light. This is my favorite time of day, Wyatt said softly. When the work's done and everything goes quiet. Carter leaned against his shoulder. I can see why. They sat like that, watching the sun sink toward the horizon, and Carter thought about how strange life was. 5 days ago, he'd been dreading a blind date with a stranger. Now he was sitting on a ranch porch with a man who made his heart race, feeling more at home than he'd felt anywhere in years. Carter, yeah, I'm really glad you stayed. That first night, when I told you to leave. Wyatt's voice was rough with emotion. I'm glad you didn't listen to me. Me too. Wyatt turned, capturing Carter's lips in a kiss that tasted like beer and sunset and possibility. This gay love story wasn't what either of them expected, but it was becoming something neither of them could deny. They grilled steaks on the porch. Wyatt's specialty and ate as stars emerged overhead. Carter felt his phone buzz multiple times but ignored it. Tonight was about this moment, this man, this fragile new thing growing between them. But during dessert, a pie Wyatt admitted he'd bought from the bakery in town. Wyatt's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and grimaced. It's Preston. I should. Take it, Carter encouraged. Wyatt stepped inside, and Carter tried not to eavesdrop. But raised voices carried through the screen door. What do you mean? You want his number? Wyatt's tone was sharp. No, Preston, absolutely not. Silence. Because you stood him up. You don't get to change your mind now. More silence. Then, explosively. This isn't about me sabotaging you. This is about you being irresponsible and me actually showing up to do damage control. Carter's stomach dropped. He stood, moving away from the door to give Wyatt privacy, but his mind raced. Preston wanted his number. Why? 5 minutes later, Wyatt emerged, jaw tight, hands shaking slightly. Everything okay? Carter asked carefully. No. Wyatt sat heavily on the porch step. Preston found out I stayed for dinner with you that first night. Our mom mentioned a TD told her there was a mix-up. And now Preston's pissed because he says I'm interfering with his love life. His love life? He didn't even show up. I know. Wyatt's voice was bitter. But apparently he's had a change of heart. Wants to take you out properly? Apologize, start fresh. He asked for your number. Carter's heart hammered. What did you tell him? That he lost his chance. Wyatt met his eyes. That he doesn't get to swoop in now, because he decided you might be worth his time after all. Wyatt, I know I don't have any claim on you. We've known each other less than a week. But the thought of Preston taking you out, of you giving him the attention that should be? He stopped, running his hands through his hair. I'm being an idiot. You're not. Carter sat beside him. But I need you to understand something. Wyatt looked at him, vulnerable and scared. I'm not interested in Preston, Carter said clearly. I never was. He was a blind date my sister set up because she thought we'd be compatible on paper. But you're not paper. You're real. And what I feel with you is real. You mean that? Every word. Carter took Wyatt's hands. If Preston calls me, I'll tell him the same thing. But honestly, I'd rather he didn't have my number at all. Relief flooded Wyatt's features. I didn't give it to him. Good, they kissed. And it felt like sealing a promise. But later, driving home under the stars, Carter couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Preston Keller. Didn't sound like the type to give up easily. Carter's phone rang during his lunch break Monday. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Hello? Carter Bennett. The voice was smooth, professional. This is Preston Keller. I believe we were supposed to meet last Tuesday. Carter's grip tightened on his phone. How did you get my number? Your sister Melissa? I called the art gallery, explained the situation. She gave it to me. Preston's tone was apologetic, charming. I owe you a massive apology. Work crisis, that night emergency client situation. I sent Wyatt to explain because I didn't want you sitting alone wondering what happened. Every word sounded reasonable. But something felt off. I appreciate the apology, Carter said carefully, but it's not necessary. Everything worked out fine, did it? Preston's voice shifted, became warmer. I heard you and my brother hit it off. That's great. Wyatt doesn't get out much. It's nice he made a friend. Friend. The word landed like a slap. Preston, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Look, I'd really like to make it up to you. Take you to dinner. The place I originally wanted to take you, Monarch. Ever been? Best restaurant in Dallas? This Friday? I'm not interested. Carter kept his voice firm. I appreciate the offer, but no. Is this because of Wyatt? Preston's laugh was light. Carter, I love my brother, but you have to understand he's not built for relationships. Ask anyone who's tried. He's married to that ranch. You seem like a great guy. Don't waste your time on someone who'll never prioritize you. Anger flared hot in Carter's chest. You don't know what you're talking about. I know my brother, and I know he's going to hurt you. Better to cut your losses now. Preston's voice turned persuasive. Give me one dinner. Let me show you what you came looking for that first night. What do you say? I say you're completely missing the point. Carter's voice shook. I didn't come looking for expensive restaurants or smooth talk. I came looking for connection, and I found it with Wyatt. So thank you for the offer, but I'm not interested. Don't call me again. He hung up. His hands trembled. His heart raced. That manipulative, condescending. His phone buzzed. A text from Wyatt. Hey, Preston just called me furious. Said he talked to you. What happened? Carter called him immediately. Tell me everything, Wyatt said without preamble. Carter recounted the conversation. With every sentence, Wyatt's breathing grew heavier. He said, You're not built for relationships, Carter finished. That you'd never prioritize me. That I should cut my losses, God, I'm sorry. Wyatt's voice was raw. This is exactly like Preston. He doesn't want you. He wants to win. To prove he's better than me? I don't care what he wants. I care about what I want. Carter's voice softened. And I want you, Wyatt. Complicated schedule and all. Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, I want you too. So damn much. Then don't let Preston get in your head. He already is, Wyatt admitted. Because part of what he said is true. I'm not good at this. My schedule is insane. I can't promise fancy dinners or spontaneous trips. Hell, I can barely promise consistent texting. I don't need fancy dinners. I need honesty, effort. Someone who actually shows up emotionally, not just physically. I can do that. Wyatt's voice strengthened. I want to do that. For you, then we're good. Yeah. Carter smiled even though Wyatt couldn't see it. Now stop worrying and go take care of your horses. I'll see you Wednesday. They'd made plans dinner at Carter's apartment, something casual. Wednesday, Wyatt confirmed. I'll be there. After they hung up, Carter sat with his phone, thinking, this LGBTQ plus love between them was still new, still fragile. But it was also real in a way nothing else in his life had been lately. He wasn't going to let Preston Keller ruin that. Carter's apartment was modest but cozy second floor of an older building. Hardwood floors, big windows overlooking the street. He'd spent an embarrassing amount of time cleaning, making sure everything was perfect. Wyatt arrived at 7 sharp, boots echoing on the stairs. When Carter opened the door, his breath caught. Wyatt had cleaned up button-down shirt, jeans without barn dust, hair still slightly damp from a shower. But it was his smile that made Carter's knees weak, nervous and hopeful and utterly genuine. Hi, Wyatt said. Hi yourself. Come in. Wyatt stepped inside, and Carter caught the scent of cedar and soap. This is nice, Wyatt said, looking around. Very you? What does that mean? Warm, comfortable, thoughtful? Wyatt's eyes landed on the bookshelf, the plants in the windows, the photos of Carter's family. It feels like a home. Pride swelled in Carter's chest. Thanks. I tried. Wine. Please. They moved to the small kitchen. Carter had made pasta nothing fancy. But homemade sauce, garlic bread, salad, smells incredible. Wyatt said, They ate at the little table by the window, knees bumping underneath, conversation flowing easily. Wyatt talked about his weak fence that needed repair. A new calf born, Lightning being stubborn about her supplements. Carter shared patient victories, including a woman who'd finally walked without her cane. It was domestic, simple, and it felt monumental. After dinner, they moved to the couch with their wine. "Can I ask you something?" Carter said, "Always." "What did Preston mean when he said people who've tried dating you, you're not built for relationships?" Carter kept his voice gentle. "You mentioned Marcus, but were there others?" Wyatt's jaw tightened, but he didn't pull away. "A few. Before Marcus, there was David. We lasted about 4 months. He wanted me to move to Houston for his job. Said the ranch was just a job and I could find another one." "What did you say?" "That it's not just a job. It's my legacy. My family's history. My grandfather built that ranch from nothing." Wyatt's voice roughened. "David said I cared more about dead relatives than living relationships. So I ended it. That must have hurt." "It did. But not as much as giving up everything I am would have hurt." Wyatt met his eyes. "Before David, there was Sean. He lasted 2 months. Kept complaining that I smelled like animals. That my hands were too rough. That I wasn't sophisticated enough for his friends." Carter's anger spiked. "He sounds awful." He was. Wyatt smiled sadly. "But after a while, you start to wonder if they're right. If maybe you're the problem, you're not the problem, Wyatt." Carter set his wine down and shifted closer. "Those men didn't deserve you. They wanted to change you into someone convenient, someone who fit their vision. But you don't need to change. You need someone who loves you exactly as you are. Is that what you're saying you want to do? Love me?" The question hung between them. Carter's heart raced. It was too soon to say those words. But God, he felt them. "I'm saying I want the chance to try," Carter said softly. "I want to see where this goes. No expectations, no timelines, just us, figuring it out together." Wyatt's hand found Carter's face. His thumb brushed along Carter's cheekbone, reverent. "I don't know how to do this," Wyatt whispered, "but I want to learn." With you, they kissed, slow and deep and full of unspoken promise. Carter's fingers tangled in Wyatt's hair. Wyatt's hand spanned Carter's waist, pulling him closer until Carter was practically in his lap. The kiss intensified. Heat built between them. Carter's pulse thundered in his ears. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Wyatt rested his forehead against Carter's. "Stay," Carter whispered. "Tonight, just stay." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." That night, they lay tangled together in Carter's bed, skin against skin, hands exploring with gentle reverence. This emotional connection they'd built deepened with every kiss, every touch, every whispered confession. Wyatt told Carter about his fears of not being enough, of losing the ranch, of ending up alone. Carter shared his own wounds, the betrayal that had shattered his trust, the loneliness that had followed, the fear that he'd never find someone real. They held each other through the vulnerability, through the honesty, through the terrifying intimacy of being truly seen. And when they finally fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms, both felt something shift. This wasn't casual. This was real. This was falling, and neither of them wanted to stop. 2 weeks passed in a blur of happiness. Carter and Wyatt fell into a rhythm dinners at the ranch on weekends, movie nights at Carter's apartment during the week, stolen phone calls during lunch breaks. It wasn't perfect. Wyatt had early mornings and couldn't always text back promptly. Carter had evening patience sometimes and had to cancel plans, but they communicated. They compromised. They tried, and it worked. Until Preston showed up at the ranch on a Saturday afternoon, Carter was there, helping Wyatt fix a section of fence. They were laughing, covered in dirt, completely content. Then a BMW pulled up the drive. Wyatt's whole body tensed. What the hell is he doing here? Preston climbed out, looking completely out of place in his designer suit and Italian shoes. "Wyatt," he called, striding toward them. "We need to talk." We really don't. Wyatt stood, positioning himself slightly in front of Carter. Protective. Preston's eyes landed on Carter. His expression shifted surprise, then something calculating. Carter Bennett. I thought you weren't interested. I wasn't. I'm not. Carter stood too, moving beside Wyatt. United front, clearly. Preston's gaze flicked between them. So this is really happening, you two? Yes, Wyatt said firmly. Now why are you here? Mom wants us both at Sunday dinner tomorrow. She's making a big deal about it, says it's been too long since we've all been together. Preston's tone turned pointed. She also mentioned you've been seeing someone. I'm assuming she means Carter? Wyatt's jaw worked. That's none of your business. Is when you're dating the guy who was supposed to be my blind date? You gave up that right when you didn't show up, Carter interjected. This isn't about stealing anyone. This is about Wyatt and me finding something real. Something you clearly weren't interested in anyway. Ah! Preston's laugh was cold. Real, Carter? My brother doesn't do real? He does isolated. He does married to his work. Give it another month and you'll see what I mean. That's enough, Wyatt growled. Is it? Preston stepped closer. Tell him, Wyatt. Tell him how every relationship you've ever had has ended the same way. With the other person realizing you have nothing left to give because you've given it all to this place. Get out. Wyatt's voice was dangerously quiet. I'm trying to help. You're trying to sabotage. Wyatt moved forward, and Carter had never seen him like this. Sangry, protective, fierce. You don't care about Carter? You don't care about me? You care about winning. About proving you're better. About making sure I stay in my lane while you play the successful city lawyer? Preston's face flushed. That's not it is. It's always been that way. You got the law degree, the fancy job, mom's pride. Fine. I made peace with that. But you don't get to ruin this. Wyatt's voice shook. Carter is the best thing that's happened to me in years. And I'm not going to let you poison it with your toxic bullshit. Silence crashed down. Preston stared at his brother. Something flickered and his expression hurt. Maybe? Or shame. You really care about him, Preston said slowly. I love him. The words burst out of Wyatt before he could stop them. Carter's breath caught. His heart stuttered. Wyatt's eyes widened, realizing what he'd just said. He turned to Carter, panic and hope warring on his face. Ow! Wyatt started. I love you too, Carter said. The world stopped. Wyatt's expression crumbled. Relief and joy and disbelief all at once. Preston cleared his throat. Well, I guess I have my answer. He turned and walked back to his car without another word. As the BMW disappeared down the drive, Wyatt grabbed Carter and kissed him desperately. I'm sorry, he gasped between kisses. I didn't mean to say it like that. Not in front of Preston. Not in the middle of an argument. I don't care how you said it. Carter cupped his face. I care that you mean it. Do. God, I do. Wyatt's voice cracked. I've been terrified to say it. Terrified you'd think it was too soon or too much. But Carter, you've changed everything. You've made me believe I can have this love and the ranch and a life that's full instead of just functional. Can have all of it. Carter's eyes burned. We can have all of it. Together. They stood in the afternoon sun, wrapped in each other. And this healing journey they'd both been on suddenly felt complete. Not finished. But complete because they'd found each other. And that changed everything. Meeting. Wyatt's mother was terrifying. Carter changed clothes 3 times before. Wyatt picked him up Sunday afternoon. You look fine? Wyatt assured him. Mom's going to love you. How do you know? Because I love you. And she can always tell when I'm happy. Wyatt squeezed his hand. Plus, she's been begging me to bring someone home for years. What about Preston? Wyatt's expression darkened. He texted last night. Said he won't be at dinner. Work emergency. Do you believe him? Not really. But maybe it's for the best. Let us have this day without drama. The Keller family home was a beautiful ranch-style house, about 20 minutes from Wyatt's property. Flowers bloomed in the front garden, and a tire swing hung from an old oak tree. Carol Keller opened the door before they even knocked. She was petite, with Wyatt's warm eyes and graying blonde hair pulled into a bun. Her smile was genuine, welcoming. It must be Carter. She pulled him into a hug immediately. I'm so happy to meet you. Wyatt hasn't stopped talking about you. Mom? Wyatt groaned. What? It's true. Carol ushered them inside. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready. House smelled incredible roast chicken. Fresh bread, something sweet baking. They settled in the living room. And Carol brought lemonade. So Carter. Wyatt tells me you're a physical therapist. Yes, ma'am. I work with patients recovering from injuries and surgeries. That's wonderful. Such important work, Carol beamed. And how did you two meet? Wyatt and Carter exchanged glances. It's a funny story. Carter started, they told her about the blind date mix-up. About Wyatt showing up instead of Preston? About deciding to stay for dinner anyway? Carol listened, expression unreadable. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed. Oh, Preston, she said, shaking her head. Always making things complicated. She looked at Wyatt. But I'm glad you stayed. Both of you? You're not upset? Wyatt asked carefully. Upset? Sweetheart, I've been worried about you for years. Watching you work yourself to death on that ranch, never making time for yourself, always alone. Carol's eyes grew misty. But these past few weeks, you've been different. Lighter. Happy. That's all I've ever wanted for you. Wyatt's throat worked. Thanks, Mom and Carter. Carol turned to him. Thank you for seeing past the surface. For seeing my son for who he really is. Carter's own eyes stung. That's easy to do. He's pretty incredible. Dinner was warm, full of laughter and stories. Carol told embarrassing childhood tales, Wyatt falling off lightning as a teenager. Preston accidentally dyeing all his clothes pink in the laundry. Carter felt welcomed, embraced like he was already part of the family, as they did dishes after dinner. Carol pulled Carter aside. He's been hurt before, she said quietly. Men who didn't understand him, who tried to change him. I know, Carter said. He told me, good, he needs someone who sees the whole picture. The ranch isn't competition, it's part of him. Carol's gaze was intense. Can you handle that? I wouldn't want him any other way. Carter met her eyes. I love him, Mrs. Keller. All of him. Carol's smile was radiant. Then welcome to the family, dear. Summer arrived in full force. Carter spent weekends at the ranch, learning to ride Lightning, helping with chores, reading on the porch while Wyatt worked. Wyatt came to Dallas on weeknights when he could, collapsing on Carter's couch after long days, letting Carter massage the tension from his shoulders. They fought sometimes about schedules, about miscommunication, about Wyatt pushing himself too hard, but they always talked it through. Always came back to each other. One Saturday morning in July, Carter woke to find Wyatt's side of the bed empty. He padded downstairs in pajama pants to find Wyatt on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. Kay, Carter said, wrapping his arms around Wyatt from behind. Couldn't sleep? Just thinking about. Wyatt turned in his arms. His expression was nervous, hopeful. Move in with me. Carter's heart stopped. What? Move in. Here. To the ranch. Wyatt's words tumbled out. I know it's a commute to your office. I know it's asking a lot. But Carter, I wake up every morning you're here and feel complete. And when you leave, this place feels empty. I don't want empty anymore. I want you. Here always. Carter's mind raced. His apartment lease was up next month. He'd been thinking about renewing, but standing here in Wyatt's arms, looking at this life they'd been building together, the answer was obvious. Yes, he said. Double quotes. Yes. Yes, I'll move in. I love you. I love this place. I love the life we're creating. Carter kissed him softly. It's not too much. It's everything. Wyatt's smile could have powered the entire state. They stood on that porch, wrapped in each other. Watching the sun paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, this gay cowboy romance that started with a blind date, has gone wrong, had become the most right thing in both their lives. Thank you, Wyatt whispered. For what? For staying. That first night, when I told you I wasn't the man you were supposed to meet, his voice roughened. Thank you for seeing past that. For giving us a chance. Best decision I ever made. They kissed as the sun rose higher, bathing them in warm light. And somewhere in Dallas, Carter's phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. So, how's it going with Preston? Carter laughed and texted back. Forget Preston. I found something better. Someone real. Tell you all about it soon. Because this emotional connection, this heartfelt romance, this LGBTQ plus love they'd found it wasn't about blind dates or perfect plans, or who was supposed to meet whom. It was about two people brave enough to be vulnerable, to try, to fall, and in the end, that made all the difference. The wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends on the ranch. Beneath the old oak tree where Wyatt had first told Carter he loved him, Carol cried through the entire ceremony. Melissa was Carter's best woman, beaming with pride. And Preston? He showed up, shook Carter's hand, apologized quietly for being an ass. You're good for him, Preston admitted. I was wrong. Yeah, you were, Carter agreed. But he smiled. Thanks for coming, as Carter and Wyatt exchanged vows, promising to love each other through busy seasons and quiet moments, through challenges and triumphs, through everything life threw at them. Carter thought about that night at the steakhouse, when Wyatt had said, I'm not the man you were supposed to meet. He'd been right. He wasn't the man Carter was supposed to meet. He was the man Carter was meant to find, and that made all the difference. The end should. Their story continue? Comment part 2 if you want more. Like if this made your heart race. Subscribe for weekly gay romance stories.